This video is to go over GAR, CAR, ZAR verbs, and GAR, CAR, ZAR verbs are one of the irregular types of verbs in the preterite tense in Spanish. So I'm going to explain all of this. If you need some more direction on preterite, I have a video about regular preterite tense that may be helpful. So GAR, CAR, ZAR verbs are any verbs that end in GAR, CAR, or ZAR. They undergo the following changes only in the yo form of the preterite tense. The GAR changes to GUE with an accent mark. The CAR changes to QUE with an accent mark. And the ZAR changes to CE with an accent mark. All other conjugations of these verbs follow the same regular pattern that we talked about in the regular preterite tense verb endings video. So over on the right, over here, you can see all of our verb endings. The yo form is these three options. If it's a GAR verb, it changes to ge. If it's a CAR verb, it changes to ke. And if it's a ZAR verb, it changes to se. But otherwise, tú and vos, which means you, always end in aste. You always take off that AR and replace it with aste. El, ella, or ella, which is he, she, or they, singular, non-binary. All of those endings, as well as usted, which is you formal, you would take off the AR and replace it with O with an accent mark. The nosotros, nosotras, or nosotres, which is masculine, feminine, or non-binary or neutral forms of we. Nosotros is we. You take off that AR and you replace it with amos. For vosotros, vosotras, vosotres, which is masculine, feminine, and neutral or non-binary form of y'all, only used in Spain. The ending for that would be estáis. You would take off the AR and add estáis. And then finally, we have ellos, ellas, ellas, which all mean they, and ustedes, which means y'all, not in Spain. And for that form, you would take off the AR and replace it with aron, ARON. So let's look at a couple of examples. Here I have some examples of GAR, CAR, and ZAR verbs. There's actually a lot more, but these are just some of the most common ones. Jugar, entregar, pagar, all of those end in GAR. Sacar, tocar, buscar, all of those end in CAR. And empezar, cruzar, almorzar, organizar, all of those end in ZAR. Do note how I pronounce these words that end in ZAR. In English, the Z sound is very kind of aggressive and strong and Z. But in Spanish, it's much softer and it sounds almost more like an S. So I'm saying empezar, not empezar. Do you hear the difference there? Empezar, cruzar, almorzar, organizar. So the Z sounds a little bit more like a S in Spanish. Next slide is going through the example of the verb jugar, which is a GAR verb. Jugar means to play, and it's used for games or sports, not instruments. That would be tocar. So jugar is a GAR verb, and I have below on the right all 6 forms of jugar. Jugué, jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugastáis, and jugaron. So just to quickly break it down, yo form, we know that yo form is where the irregular part comes in. Yo form has these 3 options. The GAR changes to GUE, the CAR changes to QUE, or the ZAR changes to CE. Accent marks always on the E's. Since jugar is a GAR, it's a GAR verb, you take off that GAR, and in yo form, you replace GAR with GUE with an accent mark. So the yo form of jugar is jugué, and that means I played, jugué. Yo jugué al voleibol. I played volleyball. Then, after this, there's no more irregularness. You just take off the AR and replace it with the correct ending. Haste for tu form, so jugaste is you played. O for él, ella, usted form, so jugó is he played, she played, they played, or you played, formal. No, amos is our nosotros ending, so jugamos. I take off the AR and add amos. So nosotros, nosotras, nosotres jugamos would be we played. Vosotros, vosotras, and vosotres ending is astáis. So jugastáis means y'all played, and that would be used in Spain. But if you're not in Spain and you want to say y'all played, you would use the ustedes form, which is aron. For ellos, ellas, or ellas, jugaron. You take off the AR and add aron. That would be they played. Or ustedes jugaron, y'all played. So that is an example with the verb jugar, which is a GAR verb. Let's look at a CAR verb, the verb sacar. We've used sacar with sacar una radiografía, take an x-ray, or sacar la basura, take out the trash. So that verb is useful to us in those different ways. It's a CAR verb. We see that. And we know that in yo form, a CAR verb, the CAR changes to QUE. We see that right here. That E has an accent mark. So in the yo form, the CAR changes to QUE. So yo saqué means I took. So yo saqué la basura, I took out the trash. Yo saqué la radiografía, I took the x-ray. Then after that, instead of QU, we go back to having a C in all of the forms. QU only shows up in yo form. So let's look real quick at the other forms. Tu or vos form is ending in aste, so we take off the AR up here and we replace it with aste, sacaste, would be you took. El, ella form ends in O with an accent mark, so that would be sacó. Same thing with usted form, that would be usted sacó, you took, formal. Nosotros, nosotras, or nosotres form should end in amos, so that would be sacamos, we took. Nosotros sacamos la basura, we took out the trash. Vosotros, vosotras, vosotres sacastáis. Astáis is our vosotros ending, so that would be all took in Spain used. And then finally we have sacaron, which could be they took, ellos, ellas, ellas sacaron, or ustedes sacaron would be y'all took. So that is an example of a CAR verb. I hope you guys are seeing that it really is only special in the yo form. And then after that, all you have to do is take off the AR and add the endings that are in the chart. Last example is almorzar. Almorzar is a ZAR verb. So we know that in yo form, almorzar is irregular. The ZAR changes to CE with an accent mark. And so the yo form of almorzar is yo almorcé, I ate lunch. And then notice that all of the other forms of almorzar go back to having a Z. The yo form has no Z, but then after that, the Z shows up again. Z. It's back. Whoops. So we just add our endings from the left. Tu or vos, you form would be almorzaste. Remember that Z is very soft, sounds more like an S. So almorzaste would be you ate lunch. Almorzar means to eat lunch. So almorzaste would be you ate lunch, past tense. El, ella, almorzó is he, she, or they singular ate lunch. Usted almorzó, you ate lunch, formal. Nosotros, nosotras, nosotres almorzamos. That's the nosotros ending. Vosotros, vosotras, vosotres almorzasteis. That is the vosotros ending. And finally, we have almorzaron, which could be they ate, ellos, ellas, ellas, or Y'all ate. Ustedes. That is an example of a ZAR verb, and any other verb that ends in ZAR will follow this same exact pattern. So let's look at some examples real quick. So number 1 says, yo jugar al fútbol ayer. And if I want to find the correct conjugation for the verb jugar, I'm paying attention to that GAR ending, and it's a yo form. And I see over here that GAR and the yo form should end in GUE. So my answer would be jugué. Yo jugué fútbol ayer. I played football yesterday. So as always, it's a past tense. All of these will be past tense. That is what preterite expresses. Number 2, mis amigos jugar al fútbol ayer. Again, GAR verb, but now the subject is mis amigos. That's my friends. So we're talking about them. It's no longer yo form. I'm not talking about myself anymore. I'm talking about my friends. So that would be our ellos, ellas, ellas category. They, my friends would be considered they, plural. So my answer there is jugaron. Number 3, the verb tocar. Yo tocar la guitarra ayer. I played the guitar yesterday, past tense sentence. And I noticed that tocar is a CAR verb, and the yo form is what I need. So that's my irregular form. The CAR should change to QUE with an accent mark. So that is toqué. Yo toqué la guitarra ayer. Number 4 is also using the verb tocar. Jimena toca la guitarra ayer. But now, even though it's still a CAR verb, now my subject is Jimena. So since Jimena is the subject that's singular, it's one person. So that would be él, ella, or ella. So my best option is to use the O with an accent mark ending. So that would be Jimena tocó la guitarra ayer. Number 5, yo organizar el cuarto ayer. That is a ZAR verb, and I noticed that my subject is yo. So I'm going to have to use this irregular. ZAR changes to CE with an accent mark. So that would be organicé. Yo organicé el cuarto ayer. I organized the room yesterday. Again, this is past tense. All preterite is past tense, completed actions. Number 6, tú organizar el cuarto ayer. So asking, did you organize the room yesterday? Again, it's a ZAR verb, but now my subject is tú. So I need to use my tú or vos ending, which is aste. So my answer is going to be organizaste. I took off the AR and replaced it with ASTE. And number 7, I see my sentence is yo sacar la radiografía ayer. I took the x-ray yesterday. My verb is sacar, which ends in CAR, and it's yo form. So any verb that ends in CAR changes to QUE with an accent mark for yo form. So that would be yo saqué la radiografía ayer. And number 8, el enfermero saca la radiografía ayer. Now we're saying the nurse took the x-ray yesterday. And still it is a CAR verb, but now my subject is el enfermero, which means the nurse. So again, this is a singular and third person. We're talking about them. So that would be él, ella, or ella. And my ending should be O with an accent mark. So that would be sacó. El enfermero sacó la radiografía ayer. Hopefully this was helpful in explaining our GAR, CAR, ZAR verbs. Adios.